don't give up, stick with your vision. If you see your future doing something, like if you see yourself owning multifamily, stick with your vision. Don't grab the red shiny ball over here or something else over here. If your vision is, I want the abundance that Christy has or that Amy has or that whoever has, stick with your vision and don't give up. No matter how hard it may seem, it does not matter where you're living at the moment. If you have a vision, stick with that vision and don't give up.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis, ready to unlock the keys to a life of true abundance. We're diving into everything from financial freedom and optimal health to meaningful relationships, geographic freedom, and everything in between. It's about creating a life rich in experiences, purpose, and joy. Get ready for empowering conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories that inspire you to live abundantly. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast listeners. Hello, this is your host, Amy Sylvis. I am the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital, and I'm ecstatic to welcome my sister, and I say that intentionally, Christy Keeton. She is not my biological sister, but knowing her and working alongside her for the past 5 years in real estate has been quite incredible. We've developed an amazing friendship, and I invited her here today because you're going to be blown away by her story and so encouraged. So, Miss Christy Keeton, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Amy. And finally, we've been trying to get together on this podcast, I think, for about a year, and we've kept pushing it out. So I'm so happy to be here, and I hope that I can bring some value to your listeners.
No doubt. No doubt. Tell folks about you because you've got an amazing story. But yeah, just let folks know a little bit about you if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so currently I am obviously a multifamily owner alongside with Amy. I have about 960-ish units across the Southeast, and I enjoy actually what I do. And I am a syndicator, I'm a house flipper, I'm a mobile home flipper, right? And I also am building portfolio right now for a nonprofit organization. I am also a mom and an OMA. That is my number one thing, is the OMA part. I have a granddaughter in Arizona, and she's just the love of my life. And I get to go see her next month, and I'm excited.
Oh, I love that. I love when you send those pictures and video when you go and you visit her. That's so sweet.
She's just perfect.
Well, you mentioned all these real estate things that you do. And it's for those who aren't aware, what's your journey been like? What made you get into this industry? I know this is a loaded question, but you weren't always in real estate, right? You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You were born as a landlord. Tell us about that.
Oh, I was actually born into basically a trailer park, right? So my family was on the low income scale. My mom's side specifically, low income scale. I would say most of us have made it to middle class scale. I'm looking to go, hopefully build my real estate enough to go to a little bit more than that, high middle class maybe. But it was a struggle growing up in a low income family. There was a lot of things that you learn along the way that you don't want your kids to go through. You don't want to go through this as an adult, right? Not that there's anything wrong with it, because there are a lot of people that need help from the government, and we were those people, right? When you have 4 or 5 or even 10 kids living under one roof, sometimes it's hard as a single parent to be able to, make ends meet, to feed the kids, and maybe mom's sitting over in a corner and not having a meal while the kids are eating, just drinking a cup of coffee, that kind of thing. But out of that, on my dad's side of the family, my grandparents actually owned a little, we called it the Watsonville Snack Bar. It was a little restaurant, and they had it for I don't know how many years. And before that, they had a grocery store. So my entrepreneurship that I have right now was always in my heart, watching them do the things that they love to do. They loved customer service. They loved shaking hands and chit-chatting with people, right? Networking. Now we call it networking, but they loved doing that, right? So I got that entrepreneur bug from them. I'm certain of it because nobody else in my family has it. And so from there, we were taught growing up 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You need to get a job. And that was, I did, but
Mm,
that was not part of my core.
mm.
Part of my core was getting to be able to do things that I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And nobody telling me, no, you can't take a vacation this day, right? And so, long story short, trying to be short here, in 2009, there was a lot of jobs along the way. And in 2008, 2009, I ended up having an interview for an oil and gas company.
Mm.
And I was like, hmm, I was self taught on Microsoft Office across the board, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, all of that. It was we had a really good interview. I got hired at this position as administrative assistant, worked my way up actually to an engineer technician,
Wow.
which is really, yeah, it's that analytical brain, Amy. We deal with that. So the analytical brain got me higher and higher up in the oil and gas. I was in the oil and gas industry for over 15 years. And in 2019, I was just asked to do some stuff that I didn't feel comfortable doing. When they tell you you can make these numbers work, yeah, I can make the numbers work as long as somebody doesn't do the research behind them. So I didn't feel comfortable as an investor myself because I had started flipping houses in 2012. I didn't feel comfortable doing what they were asking me to do. So it was basically okay, you go your way, I'll go my way, and we'll be done. And that's pretty much what happened in 2019. I took about a month off going, okay, now, God, what do you want me to do? A lot of prayer during that month. Actually, it was more than that. But about a month later, I was actually scrolling Facebook, if you believe this, and I saw an ad for multifamily education. What do you mean apartment syndication? What does this even mean? And then it hit me that, wait, I'm wanting my own business. I'm already flipping houses. I want to be able to own apartments. Is this real? Can I, little old me from Texas, right? Can I own apartments? And the answer is yes. Yes, I can. When I started the education program, it was a lot of money. And I bought a lot of things that I didn't really need during that process. So, all in, I was about $80,000 in on the education. A lot of things I didn't use, but I spent thousands of dollars for it. And then the last house that I flipped in Texas, I had a lot of debt on that house as well.
Mm.
It was a good flip, but there was still some debt because I had gone to the education and the money that I spent on the education should have paid off some bills in that house. So I wasn't necessarily upside down in the house, but I did have quite a bit of debt to the tune of about 70,000 on top of the 80. So being about 150, maybe a little bit more than that actually, in debt, I still went to Ultimate Partnering Boston. My son and I got on a plane and we went to Ultimate Partnering. That is the Dave Lindahl thing yeah. So networking event. And that's where I met my partner, Kim Winland. And she walks up to me and Chad, her nephew, that is also our partner. He was behind her looking around like, what's going on kind of thing. And she comes up to me and she introduces herself and asked me where I was from. And I told her Fort Worth, Texas. And she said, well, I'm from Waco, Texas. So between you and I don't understand why we're not partners. And I was like, I don't know. So we ended up having conversations over and over again over the next 6 months or so. And I told her about my flipping house. Well, she had something to do in Fort Worth. She comes by my house flip and she's walking around looking for me. And there's hammers going and saws going and everything. She finds me behind the detached garage. She surprised me. I didn't know she was coming. She finds me behind the detached garage and goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm on the phone with an investor. She's like, what? And so from there, she said, I knew from that moment we were going to be partners. Somehow we were going to be partners. And now we partner on about 960 units. So that's where I am right now.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, I love, Christy, that there's so much there that I want to unpack, but I love the fact that you talk about You didn't want to have to ask to take time off. You wanted to have freedom there. And unfortunately, regular jobs don't necessarily have that. It sounds like a situation where they were asking you to do something that didn't align with your integrity.
That's right.
So running your own business gives you that time. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but gives you that ability to act according to your values instead of having to maybe do some questionable things, which you didn't do, but it sounds like you were asked to do them, which is an awful spot to be put in.
Yeah, I knew probably about 8 months prior that God was shifting me out of that. I didn't know exactly why,
Mm,
but they had me training somebody else to be put in that position. Well, that somebody else being put in that position would do what they had asked to do, where I just couldn't do it. I'm not going to manipulate any numbers for anybody that needs an investor for any kind of deal that they're doing.
mm,
So let me back up for a minute. Let me tell you what I did for the oil and gas industry. I analyzed deals for the oil and gas industry.
mhm.
I researched the location. I researched what the budget would be. I researched what it would cost. And I told them what kind of returns that you would get. That's basically my expertise also in multifamily,
Right.
basically underwriting deals. So when I'm looking at a number and they're wanting a number to be a certain way, you can't do that. If the research doesn't back up that you can get that return, you can't just add a 0 or add a 1 to the beginning of it to make it work. It just doesn't work that way. Same thing with multifamily. You can't just add a 0 or put a 1 in front of something in multifamily on underwriting and make it work. Look at how many people got in trouble just for insurance and taxes over the last 2 years. It's insane. And it's because that they didn't add what could happen over those 2 years. It's insanity. You gotta be careful on the numbers that you're running.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw that firsthand. So, again, just to back up a little bit, since we talk about abundance on this podcast, we talk about how to cultivate that. What has making this shift from oil and gas, being an employee, to being a woman that owns all these apartment doors, business owner, investor, how has that created abundance in your life?
Wow. So, I was able to help my sons have an abundant life. And I say that as a mom and as a grandmother, that's where my heart is. I was not gonna get emotional on this, Amy, but
It matters.
thinking about my babies, right? So, my son and my granddaughter and my daughter-in-law were living in an apartment complex in Tucson, and it was an awful one. It just is. They didn't have a good place to be. And I was able to help them move into a home in a safe environment. My granddaughter was not in a safe environment. And look, I even contacted the owners at the time to try to buy the apartment complex from them. But I knew that it was time for them to move when they went from like $1,200 a month to $1,800 a month, and nothing had changed. They still were not able to get AC from, I think, October to March. You couldn't have AC. Yeah, it's so weird. They're on a boiler system, and then if you try to turn on the AC, they didn't allow you. It's so strange how
Oh my
things.
gosh.
But jumping up that high and not doing anything, no flooring, no paint, no, they just nothing. Like, okay, well, you're going to renew, but you're going to renew at 1,800 a month. I'm just like, no, we're going to get you out of there, get you in a safe space, a safe environment that y'all don't have to worry about this.
Right.
So that was one of the things that I was able to do. And doing that cultivated the relationship that I had with them. So people think abundant is money.
Mm,
And it's so much more than money. It's so much more than money. Money comes and money goes. But like your relationships with your children and your grandchildren, like that for me, cultivating that relationship through multifamily investing made a huge difference. And that's where my gratitude comes in, right? I think that you and I had talked, and we both read the book Go Giver, right? It's all-time favorite book. I read that book at least once a year just to remind me who I am and to remind me that it's humbling, right? It's a very humbling book. And again, I'll read it over and over and over just to remind me who I am and what I'm doing this for. So cultivating relationships for me is a huge thing, especially with my family, my son, my daughter-in-law. We have such a close relationship now. It's awesome how God has worked through the multifamily investing, through finding the deals. It's just amazing how that has just worked and brought abundance in just in that one little spot, right? Not including the net worth might have gone up a little bit, just a little bit. I'm no
Yeah.
longer negative net worth.
Yes, that's helpful. And I love that. And I love that's one of the reasons why you're such a close friend, because to you, the money is great. And we talk about this on the podcast. Yes, money is necessary. Money is how society operates, but it's the vehicle. It's not the destination. The destination is those relationships. It's control of your time. It's the ability to have your cup overflow to where you give to others. So I'd love to pivot, to talk a little bit about what you're passionate about in terms of giving, because you talked about your family, obviously, and developing those relationships, but you are one of the most generous people financially I've ever met. I hope you don't mind me mentioning that, but it's your heart, right? You're trying to help others. So can you talk a little bit about how being an investor, owning your own business, owning these apartment complexes has helped facilitate your ability to give back?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. Yeah, because there are two things that are on my heart constantly. One of them are the children of India. God has just placed a special place in my heart for the children of India. I support them on a monthly basis, something I'll never stop doing because I trust the organization that I give to. I've seen his work. I've known them for years, probably a good 10 years at least.
Wow.
Maybe longer. But I know that when I give on a monthly basis, it's going to the children of India and not somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
I know that the children of India will get new clothes, new shoes, toiletries, because toiletries are a rare for the village children over there. They're a rarity. So for us to be able to fill a backpack full of clothes, shoes, toiletries, and school supplies and give the books to them and things like that so that they can learn and be able to go and do good for their country. It's amazing. For me, it's just amazing to watch them. I had 3 girls over there. They're all adults now, and 2 of them should be graduating university this year.
Wow.
25, 26. So it's next year. One of them is a doctor. One of them is a teacher. And one of them is a pastor.
Wow.
So I'm excited about those 3. I've sponsored them since 2007. They were little bitty whenever I started sponsoring. Yeah. So, and college over there is so much cheaper than it is here. Just to be a doctor is only $6,000 total.
Wow.
$6,000 for the entire education. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so I'm just going to mention it. Wisdom for Asia is the organization that I give to on a monthly basis.
Great.
So we can look them up. Abraham Thomas, Wisdom for Asia. Him and his wife, Daisy, and actually he's involved his 2 sons as well, are just amazing. And they're also from India. So they have a heart for God and they have a heart for the people of India. And then the second thing that is very strong in my giving is sex trafficking. I can't even put into words where my heart is with this. I've seen girls that have come out of it and they have been able to rehabilitate due to the rescue efforts of others. I have seen it firsthand where I've been part of a ministry and the pastors will actually go and buy the children from the organization that's holding the children. And I just cannot explain the horror that you hear when you're involved in all of that and understand what these children are going through.
Right.
And children, as in not even 2 years old, all the way up to women and men, actually, that are in their 20s.
Wow.
And it's not just sex trafficking either, it's human trafficking.
Right.
People don't understand that people from other countries want over here so bad that they're willing to work. Whenever they come into work, it's more of a slavery type thing. It's more human trafficking. We brought you over here. Now you're going to do work and we'll feed you whatever we want to, but there's a pillow you can lay on that floor and go to sleep kind of thing.
Right.
And it's just awful. It's just
Yeah.
awful. But I support that as well. And there's so many children out there that may never be found, but I pray on a daily basis that God protects and takes the pain.
Hmm.
And the organization that I help through them is Tim Tebow Foundation and The Rescue. It's just called The Rescue.
Rescue. Okay. We'll put all that in the show notes for sure to make
Awesome.
sure those folks want to support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but I appreciate you guiding us through. Again, we repeat this on the podcast a lot, but this abundance piece of making a difference in the world, strengthening these relationships. Is there a point in your life where you feel like your definition of abundance changed, where you had an inflection point, maybe culture taught you something and you shifted or you had an experience? Would love to hear about that.
Yeah. So I believe it was actually shortly after I left the oil and gas industry, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because that's when my personal growth started. What is personal growth? Right? I
Right.
didn't know that under a W-2 job.
Hmm.
I didn't know anything what mindset was or what personal growth was or anything like that. So that's whenever it shifted, whenever I realized I have a mindset, and my mindset was a poverty mindset.
Hmm.
And understanding between an abundant mindset and a poverty mindset is huge. When you're living under a poverty mindset, you don't know that you're there until you're out. Growing up, I didn't understand that we were in poverty. I didn't know. Looking at it now, I know because
Right.
I now have an abundant mindset. But I listen to some of my family members, and I love you guys. If y'all are listening, I love you. I really do. But I'll have the conversation with them too. And I have.
Yeah.
But the poverty mindset is a generational thing for us. We didn't look at abundance. Of course, we wanted better than what we had, but it was one of those where we're not going to be able to get better because this is what we got. That's a poverty mindset. You can be better if you change your mindset. And if you look towards the abundance mindset, you can do better. You can be better and you can come out of that poverty mindset that so many Americans in general have. They just don't understand. They can invest. They just don't know how. They just don't know. And that's where my mindset changed is when I saw that ad about owning apartments, like, what? And then my wheels started turning. Wait, hold on. I can own apartments. I don't understand how I'm going to be able to own apartments.
Right.
I didn't realize that I guess I didn't realize that it was people that owned apartments.
Yes.
I thought the majority of them, I thought the government might have owned because I didn't think about that. We lived in spots that, we were paying a landlord, but we didn't really know who the landlord was really.
Right.
No, it was people like us.
Yeah.
Right?
Wild.
It's crazy. But that's when my mindset started changing is whenever I got out of the oil and gas industry. I got away from what I call the man, which is that corporate thing. Whenever I finally got away from corporate and I started thinking for myself instead of thinking the way that they wanted me to think. They wanted me to think a certain way from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, you might be able to have a couple of thoughts yourself as long as we don't call you to do something on the weekend. Okay, well, I don't have to do that anymore. Okay. So can I keep not doing that? How do I keep not doing that? 'Cause
Right.
I don't want to have to go, hey, I got 5 days of vacation. I want to take one next week. Is that okay? No, I don't want to do that anymore. And I don't have to. Thanks to multifamily investing, I have that abundant mindset now. There's no more poverty mindset. There's no more scarcity. There's plenty of multifamily and all sorts of other real estate deals going on that we can be a part of, and we don't have to worry about it.
Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. I'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. You brought up this nonprofit work that you're doing. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because I feel like this feeds exactly into this abundance mindset of there isn't just one way to do this, right? You don't have to be an investor and shove yourself into a box. You can be in multiple boxes, or you can break the box down and make your own thing. And I love that you've done that. Can you tell us a bit more about this? Because I'm so impressed by you.
I love this. And this is going to be my number one focus for 2025 is to help this nonprofit organization get as many houses under their belt as possible. So specifically, the ones that I'm helping are in Tucson. Tucson is, sad to say, it's one of the highest drug cities in America. It is. The poverty there and the drugs there are overwhelming. I partner with a nonprofit organization that helps men and women come out of rehab and into a safe home. So the safe home is people like me will buy the house, and then the nonprofit will rent it from me. And the nonprofit rents it to the individuals coming out of rehabilitation. Of course, they have to live by rules. You can't drink, you can't do the drugs, that sort of thing. So they have to live by the rules. They have meetings that they have to attend on a regular basis, but they have their own little space. They have space that they can be themselves. They have to have a job. They have to pay the rent. These guys, when I first heard about, and I built a relationship, that's another thing, is relationships are the key, in my opinion. I built a relationship with a single family agent there over 2 years. In those 2 years, he told me that I helped him quite a bit by giving him wisdom and understanding on, and basically what he said was kicking me in the rear to take a risk, because he was one of those, I'm here, I'm not moving, I'm digging my heels in no matter how bad it gets. And I was like, what's it going to hurt if you do this?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, okay. Well, this and he would give me a lot. And I'm like, no, we're going to go back to this, right? So I helped him, according to him, I helped him quite a bit in shifting. And I helped him shift his mindset on, man, you got to take some risk or you're just going to be miserable where you are. And he took the risks. And in that 2 years of he and I just conversating back and forth, he's the one that introduced me to this nonprofit organization. So he's been finding these houses for the nonprofit, I think he said, for almost 5 years now.
Wow.
But they were having a hard time finding investors that understood the vision. The vision was, please don't put me back into the environment that I came out of whenever I was doing drugs, or I'm going to go back.
Yes. Yeah.
I understand that because I was a drug addict. And if I would have had a home that I could have gone into, praise the Lord, I did not have to go through some type of rehab. The Lord cleaned me up. God cleaned me up by himself. I didn't even need it. If I would have had a spot to land, I would have been a lot better. And it wouldn't have taken me near as long to rehabilitate, if you will, my mind and my heart and the brokenness that I had. So knowing that these men and women alike are going to come out, they have men houses, they have women houses, and they have single mom houses, they have single dad houses. Yeah, it's not, once the people are out of rehab, they have an opportunity to get reunited with their children. And going into a safe environment and having that safe environment where their children can go and have other children there to play with, and to have that safe environment just means the world to a mom or a dad that's looking to have that relationship with their kids.
Yes.
When I saw what they were doing, I said, I've got to help them somehow get the houses that they need. They are in need of 24 houses right now. They have a waiting list. Each house can house anywhere from 6 to 10 men, women. We're currently constantly looking for houses. We have 2 at the moment that might work. So I'm waiting on a call back from my representative at the nonprofit, but it looks like that these might work. And
Wow.
in doing this, although it is an investment and the investors get a good return on it, it's also, for me, it's not necessarily about the money.
Yeah.
And I have one partner that she wanted to invest, but she wanted to invest and make a difference. And that's really what we're doing here. And like with all of my heart, I know if I personally did not make a dime, but I was able to get these men and women off the streets or reunite a mom or reunite a dad with their kid, that's all the difference that I need to make right there. That's the way that I feel about it. So that's my main focus this year, is hopefully to get as many houses that we can get for them so that they can fill them up so these people don't have to go back to the streets.
Incredible. Do you take investors?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And the investment is going to be anywhere from 120 to 150,000, depending on the house. And then the investment is going to be no less than 5 years.
Okay.
Because, yeah. And so the last house that we got had a 12% return, cash on cash, 12% cash on cash return. The ones that I'm looking at now are going to give about a 10% cash on cash return, which still is not bad for a single family house.
Yes. That's great. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Christy, your story is just so powerful. From where you've come from, not a lot of income, growing up, even though you didn't know it, all the way to working in oil and gas, but it not resonating with your values and deciding to venture out and create this incredible apartment portfolio that you have. And now, of course, wow, giving back. The drug epidemic in the US is just staggering. So to be a part of that solution, I'm so grateful to call you a friend and to call you a business partner. Do you have one piece of advice, just for folks that are listening? Maybe they want to do something like what you're doing, or they want to break free and find more abundance as they define it in their life. What advice would you give to them?
The number one advice that I would give is don't give up, stick with your vision. If you see your future doing something, like if you see yourself owning multifamily, stick with your vision. Don't grab the red shiny ball over here or something else over here. If your vision is, I want the abundance that Christy has, or that Amy has, or that whoever has, stick with your vision and don't give up. No matter how hard it may seem, it does not matter where you're living at the moment. If you have a vision, stick with that vision and don't give up. That's my advice. Don't give up, and partner with the right people like Amy.
Or you. I love it. Christy, how can people get a hold of you? Because I have a feeling a lot of folks are going to want to touch base with you on a lot of levels. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, obviously, or you can email me directly at Christy at Keaton, Keeton, realtyinvestments with an S.com.
Beautiful. We'll put that in the show notes. Christy, mwah. Congratulations on everything you've achieved. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's going to encourage so many that listen to this. And folks, thanks for joining us on another episode. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Amy.
All right. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.